Hello, good morning everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. So let's start today's session. Today we are going to focus upon a very new algorithm, and that is decision trees. Right? It is really very interesting algorithm. So please concentrate and try to understand. So decision tree is a machine learning algorithm that can be used for regression as well as classification. So this machine learning algorithms can be used for both kinds of problems. We may have decision tree for regression as well as we may have decision tree for classification. But most popularly, the decision trees are being used as classifiers, and that is why we are going to discuss decision trees as classifiers in our discussions, right? So being non-CSE students, you might not be knowing what is tree in computer science. Okay, let me briefly introduce what is tree in CSE. So tree is a non-linear data structure. So what we mean by a data structure is being used to store and manipulate data efficiently. So one of such non-linear data structures is tree. So by making use of a tree, it is possible for us typically to store and manipulate the data that is actually having some hierarchical relationships in between them in data elements. Say for example, if we look at a tree, our tree looks like this. We are having nodes in the tree and the nodes are being connected to one another. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I was introducing you the tree in computer science. So tree is a data structure, non-linear data structure that is being used to store and manipulate the data efficiently, right? And how our tree structure looks like, we are having the nodes and we are having the links or edges. Those connect the nodes. Okay, so see here I am drawing one tree structure. So whichever are the nodes, these round circles are actually the nodes. Okay, and the data actually is stored in the nodes. So we are storing the data in all those nodes, whatever may be our data, and we are having the relationships among those data elements, and those are being shown here as the links between the nodes. Okay, so typically, simply I'll be introducing you the terminology. This initial node, this top level node is known as the root node of the tree. Okay, so this is the root node, the first node. This is the root node. Okay, and below this root node, we are having the subtrees, and subtree is also a tree. So below this root node, we are having this node. So this node individually forms a subtree. This node individually forms a subtree. Okay. Now we are having also, this is a root node. We say that this is a parent node, and below this node we are having these two nodes. So these are the children of this parent. Similarly, if we look at these three nodes, right, these three are the children of this node. So let us name these nodes so that we can understand. Let us assume that this root node is denoted here as A, this node is B, this node is C, this node is say D, E, F, suppose this is G and this is H. Okay, so here in this tree A is the root node. Okay, B and C are children of A. A is the parent node. B and C are children of A. Now in this subtree, B is parent, D, E, F are children. In this subtree, C is parent, G, H are the children. Okay, we are not going into the more details of the tree. So whatever is required, only I am explaining that. So this is a tree structure. This kind of a data structure is being used to store the data and to manipulate the data efficiently for solving certain tasks, right? And the data is being stored in the nodes, and the nodes are connected via the edges or the links. Okay, we are having the concept like root node, parent node, children nodes, right? And these nodes at the last level, okay, these nodes at the last level. So nodes which are not having any children, the nodes which are not having any children are known as the leaves. So D, E, F, G, H are the leaves of the tree. These are not having any children, right? So D is a leaf node, E is a leaf node, F is also a leaf node, similarly G and H, right? Any doubts so far? Yes?
No, ma'am.
May I proceed?
Yes.
Okay, so now in this machine learning algorithm, we are going to make use of such kind of a tree structure, right? So in decision tree especially, we are having the decision nodes and we are having the leaf nodes, right? So decision nodes are the nodes where we are having a specific test or we are taking some kind of a decision, right? And based on that decision, we may select which path to follow, right? So every node in the decision tree, let us assume that this is our tree. So we may say that this node A is a decision node. So this node is having some feature or attribute stored, and for that attribute or for that feature we are having several values. So based on those values or based on the result of whatever is the attribute that is being stored in this node, right? Based on the number of values, we are having those many children for that node. Say for example, if for this node A, if I am having two values, yes and no, then I'll be having two children for this node. One towards yes link and another towards n link. So result of this decision at node A, we are having two results, yes or no, and based on these two results, we'll be having the nodes in the next level, right? So in decision node, so A is a decision node where we are taking some decision, and based on that decision we'll be following certain path, right? So whatever are the possible results for that decision, those many paths we will be having available in the tree. Okay, now as I mentioned, we are specifying or we are taking some decision. This decision is based on some test that is performed on the value of the attribute or the feature. So if A is the feature, as I mentioned, if A is the feature, A is having some values associated, and based on those values, right, we are performing the test and accordingly we are following the path. I'll be giving you a detailed example so that you can understand this concept. Okay, but please remember, we are having in decision trees, we are having the nodes like decision nodes and another kinds of nodes those we have are the leaf nodes. So as I mentioned earlier, in our tree data structure, the nodes, those who are not having any children are known as the leaf node. So in decision tree, actually the leaves or the leaf nodes are actually indicating the class, right? So whatever are those leaf nodes, those actually store the class label, right? So beginning from this root node, we go on performing the tests and ultimately we reach to one of the leaves, and whichever is the leaf or whichever is the leaf node that we arrive at, that leaf node contains the class label, and this is how we are actually going to classify the sample, right? Let me give you one example so that the idea gets clear. Okay, let us see the example. Like suppose there is a bank, okay, and there are some bank officials, and suppose I am the applicant for the loan. I want to borrow the loan from the bank. Okay, so bank officials want to take the decision whether the loan needs to be approved or whether the loan needs to be rejected, right? Whether to approve the loan or whether to reject the loan. So to take this decision whether to approve the loan or whether to reject the loan, right? To take this decision, there are certain parameters. Those will qualify the application of the applicant, right? So let us see now what are those parameters and how we are going to make use of decision tree to make this decision. Okay, now let us assume that we have submitted the application for the loan. So the one of the parameters that can be viewed by the bank officials would be whether the person, whether the applicant is employed or whether the applicant is not employed. Because the bank is bothered whether the person, whether the applicant is eligible to repay the loan, right? So they need to identify based on certain parameters. They need to find out whether the applicant is eligible to get the loan based on certain criteria, based on certain parameters. So one of such parameters might be they will first look at whether the person who is applying for the loan is employed or not, right? So let us assume that this is our first decision. So whether the person is employed or not. So for this feature, we may say that this is a feature or attribute. For this attribute, there are two values possible. What are those two values? Person is either employed or not employed. So we may have two branches here for this node. This is one node. This is the root node now. And there are two branches for this node. And why two branches? Because this decision is having two values. Whether the person is employed, yes or no. So we are having these two branches. The person is not employed and the person is employed. Okay. Now, if the person is not employed, then the bank officials may ask some other question or may review the application with respect to some other parameter. So if the person is not employed, they may find out what is their credit score, what is the credit score of the applicant. They may look at the credit score of the applicant. So once again, let us assume that this credit score attribute is also having two values, high and low. Credit score is high and credit score is low. So if credit score is high, that means the person is eligible to repay the loan. But if the credit score is low, there is little possibility that the person is able to repay the loan. So then the bank officials may decide that if credit score is high, then approve the loan. If credit score is low, then reject the loan. Right? So this is regarding the person. If the person is not employed, we are checking another condition, and according to that we are deciding whether to approve the loan or whether to reject the loan. Now if we look at this other possibility, if the person is employed, so if the person is employed, we are going to follow this branch. Then if the person is employed, there might be some another criteria that the officials may look at. So what might be that criteria? They may look for the income of the person, right? They may look for the income of the person. Now let us assume that once again we are having two possibilities for this attribute income, high income or low income, based on certain threshold. They are having certain threshold, and the bank officials are saying if the income is above that threshold, we are saying it as high income. If that is below the threshold, it is low income, right? So if the income is high, then the bank officials may decide to approve the loan. But if, even though the person is employed, income is low, then there are little chances that the person can repay the loan, and that is why they may decide to reject the loan. Right? So this is how at different stages the decisions are being made, and according to the decision, different criteria are being once again checked, and based on that the decision is being made. So this is how our decision tree looks like. Okay, now please note here this employed, income or credit source, credit score, these are the nodes, those are the decision nodes, and these decision nodes are representing a feature or the attribute for which multiple values are available. Okay, so at the decision node we are taking some decision based on the value of the attribute that is stored in that decision node, and accordingly we are following the path, right? So this link or branch is representing the decision rule. So whether the person is employed? No. Right? So based on that, some other criteria we are going to check. And these are the leaves. So each leaf node represents outcome. So what is the outcome here? The class. What is the class we are having now? Two classes, approve and reject, whether to approve the loan or whether to reject the loan. So we may say that we are having these two classes, and these class labels are represented by making use of these leaves. So leaves are actually giving us the outcome, giving us the result, giving us the classification. Right? So this is one simple example of a decision tree. Are you getting me? Yes? Any doubts so far? Any doubts so far? Yes? Have you understood the concept?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So this is a simple example demonstrating how we are taking the decision. Right? And we are talking about decision tree as a classifier. Okay? So if my leaves are representing the class label, then this decision tree is a classifier. Decision tree is a classifier. If my outcome is giving me some value, right? Continuous value, then we may say that this decision tree is the regression tree. Okay, but we are not right now talking about the regression tree, but we are talking about the decision tree as a classifier. Okay, so the labels or the classes are being stored in the leaves. Okay, now what next is how to build such kind of a decision tree if we are having some data with us, right? So we are going to look at a detailed algorithm how to build the decision trees, and to solve many classification problems. Actually, the decision tree is the very powerful tool that can be used. Okay, so let us proceed further now with some more details, and then we'll be focusing upon the decision tree algorithm known as the ID3 algorithm. Okay, now let us assume that initially we are having the set of examples. Let us assume that D is the set of examples. Okay, set of examples is D. So we are having training data set that is stored in this D. Okay, so this D denotes the training data set, wherein we are having several examples, several samples. Okay, now let us assume that we are having a set of attributes or set of features, and that is denoted here as A. So what is A? It is set of attributes or set of features. Let us assume that we are having n number of features, and those are denoted here as A1, A2, A3, A4, A5 up to AN. So let us assume that we are having n number of features or n attributes. Okay, now also we are having those samples with the target class or the label as positive class and negative class, right? So we are having those examples with us, and along with those examples we are knowing the class of that example. Okay, and the target class is either positive and negative. So once again, two classes, positive class and negative class, right? So with these details now, let me show you how we are going to proceed. So we are going to pick out of all those n number of attributes, we are going to pick one of the attributes as the root node. Okay, we are going to pick one of the attributes as the root node. So let us assume that out of these n attributes A1, A2, A3 up to AN, let us assume that we are picking up attribute A5 as the root node. Okay, now once we have picked up this A5 as the root node, now we look at what are the possible values of this attribute A5. So depending on those values, we are having those many branches to this node. Okay, let us assume right now that we are having this attribute selected as the root node, and right now we are having all the examples. So this set D at the root node. So all the examples are available. And now based on the attribute value A5, we are going to split the set D. So how we are going to do that? So let us assume A5 once again having two values. Right? Let us assume the values are yes and no, y and n. So we are having two branches. So what next we are going to do is, if A5, attribute A5 is having value y, then the original example or original training data set is D. So we are having now this subset of D. Let us assume that subset of D is D1. So what is there in this D1? All those examples for which attribute value A5 is y. So D1 is the subset of D in which we are having the examples such that the attribute value A5 is Y. Getting me? Yes? Any doubts so far? Yes?
No, ma'am.
May I proceed?
Yes.
Fine. So, what this D1 is? This D1 is the subset of D such that if in D1 we are having all the examples for which attribute value A5 is Y. Okay. Now, what next we are going to do is at this level we are going to pick some other attribute. We are going to pick some other attribute. Okay. So, as I stated, D1 is one subset. Similarly, we are having now all the remaining samples in set D2. So, D2 is the subset wherein we are having the examples such that the A5 value is no. Okay, so D is being split into D1 and D2, two subsets. And now, what we are going to do next is we are going to pick another attribute to take the decision. Okay, so let us assume that we are picking up one more attribute here at this level, and that is A2. So what next we are going to do? At this level, we have picked up this attribute A2, and at this level, we are having the data set available as D1. So what next we are going to do is similar procedure we are going to apply. So we will be looking at the possible values of A2. So let us assume once again we are having two possible values, yes and no. So we are having two branches for this node A2, right? So once again this D1 will be having now the further subsets. So in the first subset of D1, what we will have is, we will have the examples of the D1 set such that A2 value is 1. And in another subset of D1, we'll be having those examples for which A2 value is no. Right? So we are having D11 as the subset of D1, wherein we'll be having all those examples of out of D1 such that A2 value is equal to Y. And towards this side, we'll be having the subset say D12 such that the examples in D12 has the A2 value equal to N. Okay, now this process gets continued till we reach to a particular decision, a class, positive or negative. Now, let us assume that at this branch, okay, at this branch, I'll be having all the samples. Let us assume that at this branch, whatever are the examples I am having in D11, those belong to positive class. And that is why we are having here the leaf node that denotes the class of the samples, that is positive. Okay. Similarly, we may extend this tree at several branches. Okay. So this is a general idea how we are going to build the tree. And we are having a systematic way to come up with the decision tree. Okay. So let's proceed with the example that we are going to solve next by applying our algorithm for decision tree. Okay. Now, let us assume that we are having this example. So, please note that we are referring to, for this content, we are referring to our textbook, Machine Learning by Tom Mitchell. Right? I have shared the copy with you of this book. And for these contents, we are referring to our textbook of machine learning by Tom Mitchell. Okay. So this example also belongs to the same book. So create a decision tree to predict whether tennis will be played on the day. I'll repeat, what is the problem? Create a decision tree to predict whether tennis will be played on the day. So we want to have a prediction such that on a particular day, whether there is a chance to play the tennis. So obviously, to play the tennis, we need to look at some weather conditions. Okay, so how the day is being described? So we need to describe the day with some parameters, with some features. So they have provided us this data. So what the data is, in our data set, we are having 4 features. What are those 4 features? We are having the feature like outlook, temperature of the day, humidity, and we are having one more attribute, windy. Okay, so this will let us know whether there is a strong wind on the day or the wind is weak, something like that. Okay, so we are having the 4 features available, and based on the values of those 4 features, we need to predict whether this particular day is suitable for playing the tennis, yes or no. So our class labels are yes and no, whether to play tennis, yes, or not, no. So these are the class labels. So this is our class, and these 4 are the features for which some values are there. Okay, and every day is being described with these 4 features. Associated with those 4 features, we are also having the label, and based on this data, we are supposed to come up with a decision tree such that whenever the new example is being presented to our decision tree should predict whether to play the tennis or not. Correct? Have you understood the problem?
Yes, ma'am.
May I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, we are supposed to solve this problem, and we need to come up with a decision tree for this problem. Okay. And this is the data set available with us. So we are having 14 examples in our data set. Okay. Now, how to proceed? What is the first step to come up with the decision tree? So obviously, what we need to do is, first of all, we need to create a root node of a tree. Right? We need to create a root node of a tree. So I'm having 4 attributes here right now in our example. Right? We are having 4 attributes. Which are those 4 attributes in our example? Outlook, temperature, humidity, and windy. So we need to decide which attribute would be my root node. Any attribute can be the root node, right? But there should be some criteria to pick the root node. So what we need to do is, we need to find out the root node first. So in this example, we are having only 4 features, and out of those 4 features, we need to pick one as the root node. In reality, we may have n number of features, and we need to apply some criteria to select our root node, right? So we should have some criteria. So how to choose the root node? So the attribute that best classifies the training data, should be picked up as the root node. Now, what we mean by best classifies the training data? So how to choose the best attribute? We need to pick the best attribute. that best classifies the training data. But how to choose that best attribute? Now, to choose this best attribute, we are going to discuss one algorithm, and that is the most popular algorithm known as ID3 algorithm for decision tree. Right? So let us discuss now this algorithm, and we are going to apply this algorithm to come up with the solution for our problem. Okay, so I would suggest all of you to please note down the steps in the algorithm. There is some mathematical computation that we need to perform at every step, and I want you to perform those mathematical computations so that you can understand the problem, how to solve the problem. You should understand the algorithm. So please note down the algorithm in your notebook, because we want to apply that algorithm later to solve the problem. Okay, so how to choose the best attribute? We are having the ID3 algorithm for that. So what this ID3 algorithm is? In fact, the ID3 algorithm is the greedy algorithm that grows the tree top down, meaning this algorithm first selects the root node, top node, then according to some criteria, right, at each node, this algorithm will select the attributes based on some statistical information that we are going to compute, right? And based on that statistical information, it is possible for us to identify the attribute that best classifies the training examples, right? So we are going to have some mathematical treatment. We'll be having some statistical parameters. Those are being computed, and based on the statistical values, we are going to decide which attribute is best classifying the training data, right? And that attribute we are going to pick as the attribute in our decision node. Right? So this is how our algorithm works. This process continues until the tree perfectly classifies the training example, or until all the attributes have been used. So repeatedly at every level of the tree, we are going to compute some statistical data based on whatever is our training data set, and based on that statistical value that we have computed, we are going to decide which attribute is best suitable as the decision attribute at that level. And this process we are going to continue till our tree perfectly classifies the training example, or we are going to continue this process until all the attributes in the data set are being used. Right? So this is simply the idea of ID3 algorithm. There are several mathematical considerations and mathematical steps those we need to perform. So in fact, this ID3 algorithm is having 3 steps. Right? So please note down these steps. We are going to perform these steps in solving the problems. Repeatedly I am saying this. Okay, so please concentrate and take down this algorithm in your notebook. So we are having in this algorithm 3 steps. So we are going to repeat these 3 steps until we create the desired tree. So the first step is compute the entropy for data set, and denote this entropy as entropy of data set S. S denotes the data set. Okay, so in the first step, we are going to compute the entropy for the data set, provided data set, right? We are going to see how to compute this entropy. This is one statistical function that we need to make use of to compute, to come up with that statistical value. Okay, So in the first step, what we are going to do is, given the data set S, we are supposed to compute the entropy for the data set. Okay. Now, what is the next step? In the next step, for every attribute or for every feature, we are going to undergo few steps, sub-steps you may say. So we are going to pick every feature or every attribute in our data set, and for that every attribute we are going to find out certain statistical data. So what that data is, so for every attribute we are going to calculate entropy for all attribute values. What does this mean? This means that, say for example, in our earlier example, we had one attribute, say employed, whether the person is employed. So what are these two possible values for that attribute employed? Yes or no? Right? So for these two possible values, yes and no, for this attribute employed, right, we are going to compute the entropy for all attribute values. Entropy for yes also and entropy for attribute value no also, right? So for every attribute in our data set, we are going to compute the entropy for all the attribute values, right? What next? Next, we are going to find out the average information entropy for the attribute under consideration. So we have computed all the entropy values for all attribute values for the considered attribute or feature, and then in the next step, after computing the entropies for all the values of the attribute, we are going to find out the average information entropy for that attribute, considering all the values computed in this step number 2.1. Okay, and in 2.3 we are going to compute the gain for the current attribute. We are having the mathematical formulae for computing all those parameters. I am going to give you those formulas as well, but please remember the steps and then we'll proceed with the mathematical formulae. So in step number 2.3 we are going to compute the gain for current attribute, and this step number 2 is repeated for every attribute in the data set. Okay, now once we are done with all the attributes, we'll be having, after this step number 2, we will be having the gain values for all the attributes. We'll be having the gain values for all the attributes in our data set. So in step number 3, we are going to pick the attribute which is having the highest gain, and that would be our attribute using which we are going to take the decision. So this is how our ID3 algorithm is giving us the solution, which attribute to pick, which attribute to pick. So which attribute to pick? After undergoing this ID3 algorithm, we'll be getting the attribute having the highest gain value. So we are going to make use of that attribute as the decision node, right? And we are going to proceed further. So repeatedly we need to make use of this ID3 algorithm until we come up with our entire tree. Okay, now what would be the stopping criteria for this algorithm? When to stop? So the stopping criteria is, if all the examples belong to the same class, then we are going to stop, or if there is no more attribute to test, then also we are going to stop. Okay, so I hope you must have at least have a brief idea about ID3 algorithm. I'll be giving you few of the details about the entropy and the formulae, how we are going to compute those entropy values, the information and the gain. Okay, and based on those parameters, we are going to build our decision tree. So in the next class, we are going to build our first decision tree for the given example by following this ID3 algorithm. Yes, if you have any doubts, please let me know. So, what are the steps in our ID3 algorithm? I am repeating once again. In the first step, we are going to compute the entropy for the entire data set, and we denote it as entropy of S. Next, for every attribute, we are going to compute the entropy for every attribute value. Next, we are going to find out the average information entropy. And then we are going to find out the gain for that attribute. So for every attribute, we are going to find out the gain. And in step number 3, we are going to pick the attribute having the highest gain. Okay, and the same process will be repeated until we form our desired tree. The limiting condition or the stopping criteria is if all the examples belong to the same class, then we are going to stop, or if there is no more attribute to test, then also we are going to conclude our procedure or ID3 algorithm, right? We are practically going to see all those steps in the next session. So don't miss next session, because we are going to actually solve one problem and we are going to form the decision tree out of that. Let's stop. Thank you.